I'll just put this on and we'll go get into it, eh?
Sounds good to me.
Cool, man. So yeah, I've just got a few questions written down as well. Okay, so I suppose you should introduce yourself a little bit as well. So
Yeah.
tell us about your business.
So my name's Chris Pope. I'm in Georgia in the United States, and I run a website, YouTube, Instagram channel called Coyote Trapping School, and so it's all education oriented and geared towards people that are interested. One of the things that I noticed is whenever I was out and around and talking with people, when they found out that I was a trapper, that's something that everybody was interested in. Oh man, I'd really like to know how to do that. Or me and my granddad, I ran traps with my granddad years ago, but it's so hard, nobody knows where or how to get started. And so I started doing some YouTube videos and different things just because I could, reach so many more people. And I started in 2013, December of 2013, and it's just been slow and steady. And that's one of the unglamorous and one of the things that it's kind of like trapping, I guess nobody wants to hear about, but everybody wants to post a video and get 1,000,000 views, and it takes a long time of putting stuff out to get very much attention. That's that's what I've done, and everything my platforms have grown pretty well, and I've got people that message me telling me that they caught their first beaver or first coyote or something like that from watching my video. So it's been really really neat and exciting to do that. And so that's what, like I said, I do my live trap line. I also have a trapping course that you can access on my website. That's geared, all my information. I don't hold anything back from I put on YouTube, but it's none of it's really put together a lot. It's a set here and a set here, and how do I set, prepare my traps. And my online course is all kind of a one-stop shop where it walks you through, buying traps, dyeing them, getting your tags on them, stakes and sets, and so it's kind of a more, if you're wanting to, spend a couple hours watching videos and then go do it versus spending a couple days trying to watch videos and piece things together. So.
Okay. So is there like a link or something that everyone can go and just click on, and that'll send you the details to access your course?
Yeah. It's I was trying to think of one that would be it's coyotetrappingschool.com slash Dogger. How about that? coyotetrappingschool.com slash Dogger, and that'll be that'll take it to my course and see what I've got there.
Yeah, fantastic. How did you get into what you do now? Like, how was your beginnings?
So I started, my family grew up hunting, kind of like what you said. My dad got me into hunting and fishing, and so I kind of grew up enjoying being in the woods. And like you said, we're stuck with seasons here. So my dad always we squirrel hunted some, and then deer season was only so long. So I was always looking for an excuse to be in the woods longer. So I started bow hunting because I could get longer deer season. And then my uncle had some old fur fishing game magazines, and I started reading through those, and I think really the stories about the Alaskan bush trappers, living in a cabin in the wilderness and running their trap lines, that just really intrigued me. And I think that's what kind of got me hooked on trapping. And my uncle, he had trapped a little bit, but not a whole lot. And so I would talk to him about it every time we were around, and actually got involved over here. Most of our states have state trapping associations, and so they have conventions and meetings where all these trappers gather together, and they have demonstrations and trap suppliers selling stuff. And so I found out about that and went to one of those, and just had a couple of guys, kind of like you said with The Apprentice, just a couple of guys that saw me as a somebody that was eager to learn, and they really took me under their wing and invited me to go trapping with them, and kind of show me the way they did it. And that just set it off from there. So that was we have our fur seasons and our fur trapping, and so that's mainly what I have done over the last 15 years. But we have a nuisance trapping license, and You can get licensed to catch, and depending on where you are, it's either squirrels in attics or raccoons in attics or things like that. But then it can also be, coyotes after sheep or cattle, or beaver damming up ponds and flooding timber or agriculture. And so that's kind of, I've done a little bit of that off and on in the past, but that's kind of what I've tried in the last 2 years to kind of focus more on and put more effort into, kind of like you growing that business. Ideally, I mean, that would, if I could find some way to kind of be trapping year round, that's what I would really like to be doing. So
yeah. Definitely, it's a fantastic lifestyle, isn't it? Like yeah. I've always said that I was born 100 years too late. Like
yeah.
I would love to have been back in the day. But anyway, all right, cool. So do you predominantly work around your home where you work, where you live there, or do you travel far or for your work?
No, so that's, everything that I do is local. So I have a full-time job as well. So,
Yep.
I'm trapping, like you said, I'm trapping in the mornings or in the evenings, close enough that I can run my trap line and still make it to work and make it home. So I've done a couple of, this past year, I went to Ohio for a week trapping, and next year, or it's actually this coming season, I'm hoping, I'm trying to work out a trip to go to South Texas for a couple weeks trapping. But other than that, yeah, everything's local. I sleep in my own bed every night. So
Yeah, fair enough. And what's your favorite bait or lure that you use? Have you got a favorite bait or lure that you use, or?
not really. I use one that I've used a lot lately, and I like it. Is it's made by Rusty Johnson, he's actually a Georgia trapper. I actually got a chance to, me and him went and trapped Texas right after I graduated from college. We got to trap for about 3 weeks in Texas, and that was awesome, because there's a lot of game in South Texas. And so he makes a bait called Lucky, and I've used it for the past probably 4 years, and I've had real good luck with it. But I'll have a couple baits or lures that I use over and over, but I'm always trying to try at least 1 or 2 new lures every year, just to kind of, see what's working and see what else is out there.
Yeah. And you predominantly do dirt hole sets?
Yeah, a lot of what I do. Usually I'll set 2 traps at a location, and one will be a dirt hole and one will be like a flat set.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So what would be your advice to someone starting out in the game over there?
So over here in the U.S., the best advice I would have is look up your state trappers association. And actually, if you go to, I think it's coyotetrappingschool.com/resources, I've got a list, clickable links of every state with every state trappers association. But that's a place where you can go and see people setting traps and how they set them. You can look at a whole bunch of different supplies. So that's one thing that's kind of awkward. I guess more and more people are getting used to buying things online without having seen it. But with traps, there's a lot of different varieties. So I feel like, being able to see them and set them yourself can be helpful. So that would be my best advice is try to find one of those conventions and go there and just soak it all in, because it's used to be years ago, and this is before my time, but used to be folks were pretty tight-lipped about trapping advice. And, that was when fur prices were high and people didn't want competition. And so, if somebody was interested in trapping, you pretty much had to figure it out yourself. Nobody was going to help you.
Yeah.
But that's changed a lot nowadays. And, most of the time, if there's somebody that's showing some interest, guys are more than happy to, take them aside and try to, give them pointers and tips and how they can get started.
Yeah, that's good. It's still a little bit the opposite way over here. It's still a little bit of a secret squirrel business, so to speak. But yeah, it's starting to get to the stage now where more people are starting to realize that, what they're doing isn't such a big a secret anymore. And the more people that know how to do it, the better it is for everyone. So there's plenty of dogs, plenty of, pest animals to go around, that's for sure. So Do you guys have like a bounty system or anything over there where they put a bounty on targeted animals?
So there's a few states. All of our stuff varies from state to state, and there are a few states that do have a bounty. I think there's maybe Utah out west has a bounty on coyotes,
Okay.
and South Carolina has talked about doing a bounty on coyotes. I don't think that's passed yet and become law yet. And then there's a few places that'll do a bounty on beaver tails. So that's there's a little bit that I think that had been more popular years ago, and that's just kind of fallen out. So there's not much of that anymore. So there's really, especially with the fur market the way it's been the last few years, I mean, there's been not a lot of incentive for people to trap, you know.
Yeah. So do you think that there should be a bounty?
I don't think it makes sense from I guess from a kind of a population or biological standpoint. Like the South Carolina is right next door to us, the next state over, and they talked about doing a $75 bounty on coyotes. And while I'd love to get $75 a coyote, I don't think they're not gonna see any impact from that. I think they're just wasting their money, honestly. And so from that standpoint, I mean, sure, I'd be glad to get more money than I can get now, but I don't think it's achieving what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Well, that's the case over here. Like there's some not so much states, but we've got, quite big states, but there's some local areas like council areas that have bounties as much as $100 a dog. And the next door area doesn't have any bounty, and I don't think that they see a massive difference in the numbers of dogs in those particular areas. So that's one that, I'm going to be trying to do a new segment. That's why I'm asking you the questions on my YouTube channel, asking the local trappers over here these sorts of questions and finding out what they think their opinion on it is, because it doesn't help at all. It just seems that people, as I said, will get into it and they think, oh, beauty, we'll go out and make a heap of money doing this, and then they'll go 5 or 6 days and not catch anything. So then they think, oh, this is too hard. It's not worth $100 a dog, or So yeah, I don't think they make much difference in an area, to be honest. So
yeah.
And I've asked you about the baiting. You guys don't do any sort of baiting over there as far as poison baitings and stuff like that. Do you think that it'd be worth like a handy tool for you guys to have over there?
That was actually 1080 used to be used out west, and I think it was very effective on coyotes and wolves and the large predators out west.
Yeah.
I think we had the opposite that what y'all had, is that it affects every one of and I think that's what drove it to get outlawed, was it affects the vultures and the condors that eat the dead coyote that died from 1080, then they die, and so there was a trickle down effect that we saw. That's really neat that you said that that originates in Australia, and so y'all's animals are basically immune to it. I think that's really impressive. I don't think I think it could probably. I think it would definitely help in reducing populations, as people populated as the eastern U.S. is and parts of the western U.S. I think it would wind up being a bad idea, and get us in more trouble than it would be worth for folks to start doing that. So I think we're probably honestly better off without it than we were.
I don't think it definitely helps, the full-time trappers by reducing the numbers, but it helps the bigger problem over here, that's for sure. But anyway, so what gear do you carry in your trapping bag?
For digging my holes, and a sifter, a hammer with a kind of a blade on the back of it for digging out trap beds and things, and my stake driver. So I use all disposable stakes. I use all wolf fangs.
Yeah.
I usually wear hip boots because on the way I trap is, if I'll trap anything that's on the property. So if I get permission to trap and there's a pond or there's a big creek with beavers or otters, then I'm going to set traps for everything, coyotes, beavers, and things. And so that kind of gives me my little bit of scent control that I'm looking for on my knees and, from kneeling down. So usually I wear hip boots. And really that's about it. So this year I've been off and on using, I don't know if you've seen the augers that you can use with a power drill.
Yeah.
I haven't used those I've used them a little bit, but our ground is so hard here. I haven't used a lot of them, but I've seen some folks using them with a hammer drill. And I think that will work better on in our hard ground. So I may try to go back to using an auger this season and using a hammer drill and seeing if I can get a better, deeper hole. Cause a lot of times I get kind of lazy on my dirt holes and I'll dig a bigger hole, but only maybe 6 inches because our ground's so hard. And then I'll use just a bar or something to put a punch hole down farther. And I think I would be better off with a bigger hole all the way down, deeper hole, and maybe a little bit more bait. So that's kind of what I'm thinking this year.
Yeah, definitely. No, they're brilliant for that. You can get your hole real deep, and even if you miss whatever you're trying to catch the first time on your trap, they're digging that much that they'll end up getting caught as well. So yeah, I love them. Yeah, they're brilliant. Yeah, that's sort of about all I had for you too, mate. So if I can think of anything else, I know how to contact you now anyway. So
that's right.